And it looks like I've got Sarah Finkel on. She is connecting to audio. Sarah, once you join, I'll just wait for you to give a quick confirmation that you are indeed on.
Hi, I'm on.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start the recording, and then we'll proceed. Oh, great! It's already recording. We're in good hands here.
All right, I'd like to bring this meeting to order. The City of Shaniko City Council Budget Workshop. The date is April 28th, 2026 at 11:03 a.m. We have in attendance today the mayor, Mark Haskett, Councilmember Brown, Councilmember Cagle, and Councilmember Marquardt. Also, we have the recorder present and taking notes. This is a budget workshop, and we're very happy to have an industry volunteer that is offered to provide some of her services to us. So I'm just going to kick this meeting over to Krista. Krista, say hi to everybody, and Krista's going to lead the meeting.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having
Hello.
me. I reached out to the city of Shaniko after reading some of your budget troubles, and I am in between jobs, and I thought I would see if there was anything I could do or offer or be of service. I am a certified recorder. I have a master's degree in public administration and a city manager. I have done everything from bottle washing to cooking the dinner. So I just wanted to meet with all of you to make sure that you're all on board with that. That's okay with you. Sounds like we're a little bit behind on the budget process. So I've been digging in a little bit yesterday to find some records so that we can get started. And what I would like to hear from you guys is what sort of things you see in your budget, what sort of plans you might have so that I could incorporate that, provided that you are on board with me being here.
Yeah, I think we definitely could use the help, and we're definitely interested to hear what you have to say and any guidance you have for us.
Yep, I would agree. And let's just make sure we all agree, and then we can give some input. Andrea, how do you feel?
I am super glad you're here. Thank you.
Councilmember Marquardt, do you have any comments?
I think it's a great idea. Glad to have you.
All right, so let's just get started.
So, again, the records are a little bit difficult to find, and over the next few days, I will be searching out what I need to create some of your historical data and also help get your audit filed. Right off the bat, what I have noticed is that there is some cleanup, and of course, in budgets, what we expect is that when there a lot of cleanup is needed, give yourself a good couple of years to kind of turn some of those things around. Namely, like in your general fund, you have your apportionments, which is ODOT. Now, there's a strict statute on how that can be spent, and you have to have a state street tax fund.
Okay.
You can call it that, you can call it something else. I feel if you call it that, then you don't, you're not going
It gets
against
spent right.
statute. Sorry?
I apologize. It gets spent right.
It gets spent right, and then also it's named the thing that. So, if that sounds like something that you are on board with, of course, we're not making decisions. We're just, kind of some feedback. I will create a street fund so that you're spending that appropriately.
We have a separate account. We have two accounts down with Interstate.
Let's kind of get the list of let's get the list of what we want to create, and then we talk about how to create and how to disperse those, perhaps at the actual first committee meeting, if that makes sense.
Okay. Let's see what the words to the end. So there is a revenue sharing, which in your general fund is typically your LGIP account. And again, I haven't dug through all of the things. It looks like you had an LGIP account. That is where you will earn the most amount of money, and I suggest that you put all of your money in there because last I looked, it was around 10%, but it fluctuates, so you can see what that
Will
is.
you describe that, what that is?
It's a local
Yes,
government
please.
pool that the state uses those funds for um, obligations, and basically it's a savings account that all cities participate in order to generate revenue. So, like if you have First Interstate or Umpqua or whatever it is, you're only going to be making a percent or two or whatever that is. And at 10%, if you get all of your state taxes, your OLCC tax, your cigarette tax, those usually drop right into your LGIP account. And as you need funds, then you would move those funds into your other account, your First Interstate or whatever that is. So the idea is to keep it in your savings account as long as possible. And then what we need to decide is the revenue generated from that, how does that get divided? Does that get usually it's based off of how much are in your funds. So if your fire or your water has more than your general fund, it's a percentage. So if you have $10,000 in fire, the 10% that you make off of that would go into your fire fund.
I got you. Do you mind if I just quickly recap here?
Sure.
So what it sounds like to me, and correct me if I'm getting anything incorrect, the possibility here is, of course, we've got our main city account that has the breakdown of different funds within that one bank account. And so the suggestion and the possibility here is to create a separate account. This is the LGIP fund, where we'd put all of the revenue sharing, the OLCC, the stuff we get from the state. It would go in directly into this separate account, and the benefit is that account draws a 10% interest increase per year. So that way we could make some money off the money that we're getting, and then create a plan for getting back on track.
Right. So all of your funds would sit in the LGIP account, and that's why QuickBooks is really super important. As you draw down on those funds, you would just keep track in your working account, your First Interstate or whatever that is,
First mistake.
how much you're using in of which fund. So it's all held there as your savings and making monies.
Okay.
And the benefit is that the state taxes do like to just drop right into the LGIP account. So you would just record every month what was dropped in.
I like that. Right now we are receiving checks, and so it would be
Right.
much simpler for setting that up, and then also to be able to
The
build up
checks that we're
savings.
getting are also very small.
There's a couple $1,000 here, $1,000 there.
Yeah, usually it's somewhere between 50 cents and $15.
Okay.
Regardless,
Mhm.
no matter how small, those could just drop automatically, and all it is a recording. You don't have to worry about cashing those checks, and you would just record that in your QuickBooks. I also do recommend QuickBooks online.
Okay.
And the benefit of that is for continuity, so that no matter what your recorder situation is, no matter what your finance situation, it gives you flexibility either through audit or through hiring, volunteering, whatever that looks like, that there is continuity. Because in this, sorry.
Sorry.
It was a sneeze.
Okay. So that you have continuity and able to keep track more accurately, and then also prepare for if you have those quarterly things. And if you get to a paid position at some point, you can do payroll through it, things like that.
Right.
That's an extra service. You don't need that now, but for keeping up budget, it is very essential to manage with QuickBooks. So. We also talked about having job descriptions. That also goes into your budget.
Yeah.
And keeping track of volunteer hours. And that helps with your grants, with letting Business Oregon know what your situation is, publishing all of the information so that if Business Oregon wanted to help you out in some way, they could just pop in and look at your website and see your budget, see what you've allocated, see where they can help out. So I talked a little bit with the recorder yesterday. Hopefully we can get together. If not, I'm happy to help upload some of that stuff. Your volunteer practices, all of these things go into your budget and your level of risk.
Mhm.
The other thing I noticed was your charter says that your in floating indebtedness is 10% of your budget or $5,000, whichever is less.
Yes.
So I do recommend that you advocate for a charter change
Mhm.
in some way, unless you guys are just okay with that, but that doesn't seem real. $5,000 isn't maybe realistic.
The only way to change the charter is to have the community vote on it. So
Yes.
we would have to, yeah,
Yes.
work with the county clerk to get that done.
And so
Yeah, that's going to be quite an uphill battle. That's going to have to be a ballot measure, and it has to be passed. It's a whole thing to change the charter.
Yeah. Not impossible. Um, it just depends on, like I said, where you guys see yourselves going. If you're going to issue any general obligation bonds to try to help fund things,
I
where.
don't think so.
Okay.
I don't, that's, yeah. I think part of the problem that we have now is, like even keeping track of volunteer hours, there's no paid staff of any kind. So you would be making your volunteer hour sheets and putting your time in it as a volunteer.
I will add that as part of the Main Street Mission connected networks that we're on, they did ask for a quarterly reporting of the number of volunteer hours. And just like Krista said, they do use that for allocating funds, so they see how much you're pitching in for free, and it's not trackable necessarily like time in, time out. It's not that robust, but to get a general idea to kind of start tracking does help with the funding. So I
Because
get
there's
where
a
you're
lot
coming
of
from.
people around town that just weed whack and mow the alleys and the, stuff and don't talk to each other. That don't communicate. There's a lot of volunteer hours that don't.
I think this would be a city-based volunteer, and we can kind of work out the details later and move forward. But I think it's a suggestion to be
We did
considered.
that all last year with the fire grant, and the fire department did all the mowing and all the weed whacking around town.
Yes,
That, and then the fire department was doing the
and that was tracked.
trash
Yeah.
and the water. So this is kind of the fire department is the volunteer organization, at least last year, that was doing all that. So we can, I guess, keep those hours through the fire department.
As long as it gets reported to the city in some way so that there is a way to, keep track of all city hours. And if the goal is to have a paid position, whether it be, there's many different ways that you could go about this. There may be grants, there may be internships, there may be, obviously, there is a budget crisis, but at some point, do we every 6 months bring in a new intern that's just graduating out of an MPA program through the universities or something like that? I feel like that could be very resourceful. So it really just depends on like how you see it going in the future. Is it, and maybe it turns to be a 20-hour a week job that somebody does end up, training for, or somebody that lives around town or Grass Valley. I don't know. So I'm just throwing out a bunch of things, but that person would be in charge of tracking the hours, making sure that they're staying up to date on all of your policies. Because I feel like that's the missing part here, is that there isn't somebody solely just making sure that they're, in the Recorders Association, or that they're planning or bringing. It's sort of hodgepodge.
Yes.
So, anyway, so if there's some feedback up to this point, I would be happy to hear any of those things.
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I it's very easy to understand what you're saying, and I'm really happy that you're helping out. So I just want you to know that this is very helpful.
Thank you.
Councilmember Marquardt, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I do agree that at a certain point, we are going to need somebody. I don't know that it's going to be like a full-time, year-round type situation. But for instance, day-to-day operations such as picking up the garbage and making sure that that dumpster is swapped out accordingly, and cleaning the city restrooms and making sure that there's no major water leaks and there's not some catastrophe. At some point, we will have to have a paid position. And whether that's at the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour or whatever the minimum is legally, I do agree at some point we should budget for that, because I don't know anybody in any city that does these kinds of things for free. And so if we're going to continue to be a municipality and we're going to take this serious and actually be a government and truly govern and be helpful and providing service to the community, we ought to be looking at something like that. I agree. Something maybe 16 or 20 hours a week seems reasonable.
Thank you, Councilmember Markwart.
And the minimum wage for Wasco County is around $15 an hour, so just make a note
Yeah.
for when we calculate.
All right, Chris, do you want to continue?
Let's see. Another thing is, even though every little bit helps, right? So I'm thinking, is there another way that you can generate a little bit of revenue? Is there, I have this little logo here that I'd like to share, and you don't have to take it, you don't have to do anything with it, but I'm pretty sure I'll double check, but I think you could use some tourism dollars to buy some shirts, some cups, and things that are city logo,
Right.
and you can put those out in, Grass Valley and Morrow, and Travel Oregon has shops, and
Right.
wherever a little something, maybe somebody likes to volunteer, put that in one of the shops here, something like that. But anyways, logos are also really beneficial in rebranding, especially when there's been a lot of trauma and drama. So here is a I think it's backwards, but
That's great.
Love it.
it doesn't have to be that, but
That's cute.
generate a little bit of revenue, help pay for some administration, some trash and restroom cleaning and supplies. And maybe it doesn't. So if that is something that you're interested in, also I think we could incorporate that into the general fund. If you guys have other ideas that you think might generate some revenue,
It seems like that we actually, barring any, large amount, some bill or some catastrophe, that the city actually generates just a little bit to stay ahead with basically our trash and our water, and then the TRT tax, a little bit of property tax, the tobacco, cannabis tax that comes in. It's pretty much, it seems like we've had some unexpected, um, bills that we shouldn't have had. And there was a lot of money spent. I think Pam found that,
We'll talk about that in the next meeting.
yeah, we were in a decent position until a couple of years ago. And then there was a bunch of money that was spent, but we had been able to tick up.
In 2019, we had 20 grand in the account, and that was kind of typical for year before that. So I think there's a way to get back to that.
Right.
And some of these ideas could support that. So I think they're worth
I,
considering.
I think that the business license it's $20 for a business license for a year. I think it should be $100. You could pretty easily tack another $5 on for trash or water or something like that.
$100 for a business license.
It's only $20 for a business license right now in Shaniko. Seems like $100 wouldn't be a big deal. I mean, maybe go to 40, sure, but I've been in a lot of places where I paid more than $100 for a business license.
But also, you have to have somebody who is checking that all of the elements are being met for the business license. So, for example, if a new, let's say a gas station, but you're going through planning and all of that. So
We don't have a planning department. We don't have a building department. It's just a vote of the city council. If, this home rule jurisdiction allows Shaniko to decide if a business can come in, and then it's a basic renewal thing. And there's only 4 businesses in town. It's not.
Right. But if, and again, this is just based off of my other experience, there's still, you still have to, you're obligated to look at the comp code and the planning rules to make sure that if that gas station came in, that it does fit those things. That if you don't have anybody on staff that's making sure that those things, or if somebody does violate their business license, who is going to send the letters
Right.
that are going
Yeah, but
to,
I mean,
That's a need in the future.
yeah, we have to really talk about enforcement and what we
Yes.
have. We have no enforcement. In
Yes.
fact, there's almost no consequence to
But for the
even.
sake of staying on,
That's
Right.
actually not necessarily true.
It's, thank you, Mr. Marquardt.
I've got something to add on that when you're done, Mark.
Enforcement costs money. That's not where we're standing right now. But let's continue. Did you had a comment, Mr. Councilmember Marquardt?
Yes, there is a mechanism within our city charter, and essentially, we should have our own municipal court and our own municipal judge and our own municipal
Mr.
prosecutor. But
Councilmember, let me
if you just
interrupt you
give me
so
a
we can
second.
stay on the budget.
Okay, but if you give me a second, just 1 second here. There is a mechanism within the city charter that allows the city to essentially hold administrative hearings under the municipality's jurisdiction in Wasco Circuit Court. So you are incorrect when you're saying there's no way to enforce. What you're saying is you don't want to enforce, and those are 2 completely separate things. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Marquardt. Thank you very much. Let's just go ahead and continue on the budget here.
all right.
if enforcement and fines, liens, and things like that are part of your budget, I would incorporate that. If you would like to look at enforcing whatever,
Right.
that is something that you do want to incorporate.
Let's move on
Oh,
from
okay.
this. This is something we need to continue past this for right now.
Okay. So is there a list of needs in their own budget? How does that work?
Well, I've been only a part of this for 1 year, so I'm not sure what was done in the past. The fire department is actually a part of the city. It's not its own entity. It's a municipal fire department. You could probably speak to that better than
Well,
I
it would have been ideal to have the fire department put together their list of needs. I don't know that that's really happened traditionally. So we kind of talk about it in the city, and I think there's an opportunity to set some goals and some planning, which again maybe has been a step that's been missed in the past. Almost there's been like sort of a wish list rather than a plan of to add these 2 things and then these 4 things in 5 years and that sort of thing. So it would be something to visit. It's not something that we have available to present with you.
Oh, no, that's okay. Is there, what are some of the top needs of the department?
The fire department?
Yes.
Brush rig,
Yeah.
Okay. I think I wrote that
a
down.
brush rig, fire shelters, uniforms that are in NFPA certification. All of that can be done through grant funding.
Are you working with emergency management on any of that?
Yeah, I've written 3 or 4 different grants just this past 12 months. One of them is still pending, but the others were denied.
Our fire department is a volunteer-only department. We have not a tremendous number of people. We don't leave this town. We are not necessarily, the department that's going to fight wildland fires. If we, are in an emergency situation here, we're not an island. We have support from surrounding areas, from BLM and from the state, and we've had some pretty tremendous fires around here. And our department, we have 1 structure rig, And we have water depots and some pump stations around town, little small pumps that we can wet the grass and prepare. But we're by no means qualified to be attacking wildland fires and stuff like that. We're more of a support role and initial attack if there's a structure fire here in Shaniko. There is
I
some
would disagree. I would disagree. We're in a wildland urban interface. I think our biggest threat is a wildfire that would be coming into the city. And yes, there is a structural element, but the chances of a structure fire is a lot less than the chances of a wildfire. So I'm going to have to disagree with you there. We do need a brush rig. We do need updated gear. We need updated fire shelters. I mean, all of that should be in the budget.
Thank you, Councilmember Markler.
I'll piggyback and summarize that I think a brush rig is a top priority, and perhaps the wildland gear will be a second top priority in addition to those other things that were listed if we can get those additionally.
And forgive me, but is the certifications up to date and things like that? Do we need to account for those?
I think there are considerations training. I've got my wildland training in EMT, and the other people could use some training, and so I think the money for that would be helpful.
We should probably move past the fire department initially on this. There's a wildland grant that we can get, and we have gotten it in the past. It comes in about between $25,000 and $35,000. It's sort of a gimme. It's kind of a layup from the state. However, I'm not sure if we're going to get it this year because we have been unable to reestablish our sam.gov account. So we can't get any money from the state right now from the fire department, from the state fire marshal or the state fire department.
Why can't we get that?
I'm working on those too.
We've been working very hard, and something's happened to our sam.gov account, and we can't.
I had a lot of trouble with mine too, but
And we're considering closing it
no.
because they won't give us a check if we have a sam.gov account. The sam.gov account is broken.
We can talk about that offline. I've got more details about what that looks like and the why to be able to talk about next steps.
Okay, so that's what you need for the grant. So we could let's plan on putting that in there as well. Okay. So I talked to you about the water fund,
Yep.
And some of the needs of that. I don't think that there was anything else to add or talk about. It's pretty.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. And the whole amount for the 2 years was 133K that will be wrapping up in a couple months, but to look at to see what's remaining, maybe $25,000 that will be reimbursement based to be paid by December of 2026.
So in the budget, it says the water system loan, it was proposed for 130, but then it wasn't adopted.
I see.
So can somebody talk to me about that?
Before my time.
I can talk about that. I don't know why it wasn't adopted or if the notes didn't make it on there. I do know that the city signed into a contract with Business Oregon and then also with the engineer. We had 3 bids for that particular project from AKS Engineering. I can't remember the other one, and then Kieran McLeod, we went with them. And so we've got the contract signed. I can't speak to the adoption of the budget. I would assume that it would have been signed because we were going through the grant process a year before this particular budget was presented. So it might have just been an oversight administratively.
Okay, so that is the same loan that we're talking about.
Yeah,
okay.
And it's a grant. It's not a loan. Just for nomenclature, for accuracy, it's not a payback.
Okay, so there's the block grant for 7,000. Then there's the water system loan.
Okay, the mislabeled, the block grant was for 130, and then we didn't end up getting a loan.
Okay.
So maybe the numbers were flipped.
And it would make sense that you may have needed to take out a loan to partner with that, but then also I go back to your indebtedness limit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was one of those payback grants.
It's a reimbursement
It's a
grant.
reimbursement grant, but the vendor said that they would put us on a 60 or 90 net, so we didn't have, and then he would invoice. So then we submitted the invoice to Business Oregon, and then so it was a reimbursement grant, but we didn't really have to.
You were a pass through.
We were a pass through,
Yeah.
right?
Perfect. Okay, so we have sanitation. I think that was pretty straightforward as well.
Yeah.
Um, and then fund, it sounds like I looked at the grant. There isn't any requirements that you do something, keep something open like some of these other federal grants. Are we wanting to keep this fund open, or are we wanting to close it and put it into the general fund?
This is complete news to me. I had no idea there was a schoolhouse fund. How much money's in the schoolhouse fund?
Well, I don't know what the balance of anything is actually. So that's a little bit of a problem as well. But what it had in here is there was no starting out money, no cash on hand, and then there was the rental for 1,000, donations for 1,500. Let's see, 1,000 was adopted for donations, and then 45,000 in grants.
I think
I can
they
speak to that.
Okay.
So the schoolhouse account, the schoolhouse fund was created in 2004, was what I understood from talking to Susan, to accept grant funds for the project of the last renovation for the school, to keep those funds separate. And then the fund stayed open, and we've been reporting on the fund. And right now, as of the end of last year, there was no income into the schoolhouse fund because there were not any events, there were not any rentals. In fact, the schoolhouse fund was meeting a deficit because the electric bill and the propane bill for the schoolhouse were about $150 per month. So actually we were going into the red without any income. When there were events, they had a donation box, so we would get donations from time to time. Some of the budgeting items that listed a grant possibility, I think, were wish list items, but nobody actually went out and wrote those grants. That is something that I would like to do to go forward, to bring that building back with life, to restore it, to get new roof, new painting. But I do think the possibility of lumping that into the general fund would make it easier to manage, because right now the schoolhouse, as a separate entity, I don't know that it's making a whole lot of money, and so to bring that into general fund would be something that I would want to consider.
I mean,
Kind of feedback, this discussion.
And also, if that is the direction that you would like to go, I would write you a resolution to formally close that. So kind of knowing what maybe the other two counselors feel would it
is
be
that
helpful.
is it a bank account, or is it just a subsection of our existing account? Where is this fund?
It is on paper. It's not an actual bank account.
Okay.
Just I assume held in your
Just
regular
general
first
fund.
in
There's,
your regular account.
yeah,
This is the concern that I've had. That's exactly what you just said. Is there's all of these so-called funds. There's a school fund, a trash fund, a tourism fund, and it seems like they're just pieces of paper with numbers on them. Where are these accounts at?
Oh, okay.
There aren't. It's not. I'm getting the impression from you. It's not an account.
May I?
Yes, please.
Okay. And I'm just going to speak to however a city that I've worked at before works. We have an LGIP account, and I'm not trying to make it complicated, but we hold all of our money there. And as we need it, we move money into, I'm going to call it Umpqua.
okay.
And then we might transfer $10,000 into Umpqua and we pay our bills. We keep track of those two accounts through this budget, through your general fund, through your street fund, through your schoolhouse fund. So let's say you did some renovations on the schoolhouse, and the contractor is coming, we need $20,000. It's been approved by council, everything. So we would move $20,000 from the LGIP account into Umpqua, and we pay the contractor $20,000. He did his work. we would then record it in QuickBooks under the schoolhouse. It has a code, and the code would then be tied directly to that. So if you had an audit later and the auditor was like, show me the invoice and show me where you recorded this, it was tied, the code is tied to that invoice, to that contractor, to that fund.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So it is more just like a line item or a category inside the general account. This is
Yes.
just because it's a fund doesn't mean it's its own separate
Right.
account. It's just a line item in the budget.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to start fresh because it's my understanding, looking back at least for the past 5 years, that it's basically just been a free for all out of the general checking account. I don't think any of this has actually been done the way it's supposed to have been for quite some time. So I think that we need to start fresh with all of this accounting.
And that's kind of what I'm happy to help with is kind of a little bit of a reset, get some QuickBooks going so that there is regular accounting, get you a really good budget so that you can look at your historicals. As long as I can find all of that information, and Pam has been really great helping me find some things. So I think that it will give you a good reset, so that it doesn't feel like that.
Okay, thank you.
Please continue.
Okay. And now we are, may I hear from the other counselor about the schoolhouse fund? Are we,
Andrea Cagle, Councilmember
Yep.
Cagle, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Yes.
okay.
Yep. Yep. Do the resolution and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So for the tourism, vendors and activity sales and things like that. So your transient lodging tax, and forgive me if you already know, you're required to use the 70% on advertising and other mechanisms to draw in tourism. The 30% goes to your general fund. The more events that you have, the more advertising that you do, the more you get that 30% in your general fund. The more the people stay at the hotel, the more if you have tent sites, but also if somebody isn't keeping track of that, the RV overnights, things like that. I don't know fully what you have, but we need to make sure that those people are paying. So usually, so quarterly, we would send out hey, it's time for you to submit your TLT dollar. Sometimes people do it on their own, but we need to keep track of that really, really well because that is lost revenue if that's not being paid. And it is on the honor system. And at some point down the road, you can have the state of Oregon collect it for you. They charge a little bit of a fee, but then it takes that off of your plate. And they also investigate if there's Airbnbs that pop up and people are charging for those things. And you're very small, you probably don't need that, but making sure you get that 30% is really essential for your budget. So having the activities, having communities development, having the festivals, all of those things that you can come together and support is going to mean more for your general fund. So if there are other things that are not in here, things that you would like to do, you would like to see, that would be helpful to put.
I think we should try and get the state to collect this TRT.
I would agree with Mark on that.
Yeah, there have been.
Let me speak to how it works now, though.
Hold on, let me just finish. It is on the honor system, and there has been times where it's been delayed and it's not come in when it should have.
It is at times delayed. I actually helped the hotel set up their POS in 2023, and so they've got a reporting mechanism that when they pay, they send that check certified mail to the city of Shaniko, and they print off the report of how many rooms, and they've got it calculating. So that's how the hotel's functioning now, even though, yeah, it's a little bit delayed.
Yeah, but it would be nice to take any kind of enforcement away from the city.
I agree.
With it.
Okay.
Because
I
like
agree.
you said, we
I do
don't
agree, too.
have the infrastructure to chase down people for.
Yeah, even if it's a small fee, I agree with Mark 100% on that. Let the state collect it.
That way we don't have to, get a check and certified and then the mail didn't go through and the post box, the letter got dropped behind the counter. It happens.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
That
how do we go about doing that?
so you reach out to the state. That would be the recorder, uh, whoever is in that position. The recorder reaches out and requests from the state, and I don't exactly remember the steps. It's not all of that invasive. It may be passed by council to do something like that.
Okay.
Um,
Sarah, can you look into that?
Sure, happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, I think you just reach out and just say, hey, we can't manage it, and there may be a form or something like that.
Right.
So,
And then if they feel the need to audit, they can audit on their end.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Oh yeah,
they do everything.
absolutely.
They when you start out, you give them a list of known places. So, like if you
Okay.
have a RV place, a hotel, a Airbnb,
It would
then
just be two. Just a
okay,
hotel and RV park.
okay, then but if there was something suspected past that, you would say, I think these people are renting out. They'll do their own investigation. So,
Perfect.
so then as far as tourism, is there what what are you doing, or what is the wish list for advertising for, maybe generating some more of that 30% income, or even holding events where you could bring vendors from, you could have like, the wool festival every year or something, to charge money for a space for vendors to come, and then you're also doing your duty by bringing the event and charging a little bit of money and
We do have Shaniko days, and then we do the nonprofit here kind of works with the city to put on the Hoot Holler and Sing. So that is two events. The one of the issues that we have that's a reoccurring issue that you'll see is that who's going to do this event? It's just one more bite of the pie for all of us to undertake.
The vendor fees.
Everybody already is buried and already
I'm doing
working
a lot
and
of it.
already, we're already doing so much. Like simply adding another event. I mean, Pam and I are music promoters. We do events that are separate from Shaniko, and it takes a lot of work.
But I do have the sign up form on ShanikoDays.com so vendors can reach out. We had the website up last year on marketing for that for to get out aside from the banner, but vendors can reach out. No barrier of entry to come for the weekend because we want to start bringing people in and then create that baseline to then look at raising the rate in the future. So that, like Mark mentioned, we've got the two events, and I think we're open to recommendations as far as what you perceive, with the consideration that we don't necessarily have the manpower, or reaching out to other communities might be an idea too.
yeah, and I like leveraging other communities in the Frontier Chamber and other people who could fill
Yeah.
those spaces. So if there's somebody within the county, if there's somebody in another city, or and not particularly on a volunteer base, like the Frontier Chamber, that's what they do.
Right.
So is there somebody that you could pay the ambassador
Right.
to manage an event, or is there so that
One of the things we're working on now, our nonprofit, and I want to move on because this isn't really we're taking up everybody's time, but Pam's been working on this thing called the Music Trail, where we're connecting Spray, Condon, Mitchell, Fossil, Shaniko with a seasonal musician who's going to each place and play locally. And I suppose that is kind of something we could dollars spent on the advertising for that, especially as it comes through Shaniko.
That might be relevant. If I could take just a minute to give a quick update on that. It's not directly city stuff, but
No,
would that be all right? Did I hear something?
no, I coughed. I'm sorry. Sorry.
So some of the supporting organizations outside of the city of Shaniko, the Oregon Bluegrass Association got $10,000 to that organization through Oregon Community Foundation to support an artist in residency program in Shaniko. So we've got a musician who's coming into town starting on May 11th for a week. And I've booked him at the library and to go to the Maupin School and to put on free performances, and that's kind of the structure for it. So that money from Oregon Bluegrass Association is meant to bring musicians into Shaniko, and part of the agreement is for them to write songs, maybe little ditties about our region, do little videos because they'll have a following if they're this guy's down from Ashland to kind of spread the word. So we've got 3 musicians booked for that Oregon Bluegrass Association, but taking place in Shaniko. I'm the president of the OBA, so I just kind of work with them to bring support to rural. And then the second thing that Mark was talking about is it's an arts visioning process that we got, that Shaniko Music Sanctuary got money from the Ford Family Foundation. We got $8,000 from them, and we've got a second grant application in for Shaniko Music Sanctuary. This project is kicked off, and there's a steering committee that includes 4 different counties. We've got representation from the Chamber of Commerce in Maupin. We've got the Condon Arts Council. We've got the South Morrow Arts Council up in Heppner. Spray General Store, so Joni's on, and Balch Hotel. So we've got this mix of people who are promoting, who are musicians, who can host these, and that's run by RDI, who's facilitating and trying to see what obstacles exist, how we can more work together, even though it's a large region, for maybe sharing instruments or sharing resources, sharing marketing and advertisement. So again, while not a city sponsored event, while not like city paid stuff, these are some of the ways that we're reaching out to utilize our resources, and that's again not the city, but
Well,
the Shannon
this is
Music
also a way
Sanctuary.
we can diversify our lack of infrastructure. We can count on other communities. We can sort of be a part and you know utilize other people's staffs and other people's
And skills. We each have different skill
skills.
sets, so coming
Yeah.
together to kind of support each other is part of my vision. We'll see what comes out of the visioning, which will end at the end of this year, and we'll have a report and action items from that.
So is there a property that if there were to be an event here that the city could lease or rent?
So the Shaniko Music Sanctuary has a lease on the schoolhouse, and in the lease, anytime it's not being used for SMS event, it can be used for a city event at no charge.
Okay. And then is there like tent spaces or anything like that?
There's a lot of room up there. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was doing all day yesterday, working up there.
Okay. So that might be something too I don't know how you guys feel about the bikers. I know that when they came over they had a great time. That might be some of those types of events, tent space. Anyways, I know you wanted to move on, but lots of ideas on how to bring people and events
Yeah.
and revenue. Um, and then that is the end of the budget, I believe.
So can we talk? Well, first of all, I'll open up for questions in just a moment, and then I'll tell you where my mind is going. We'll visit questions, and then I'd like to talk about next steps for what the process of the budget hearings and what the requirements are for that and budget law. But before we go there, are there any questions on what we've talked about before we jump forward from anybody on Zoom?
I've got a question.
Go ahead, Councilmember Mark Orr.
Yes, so I just want to make it kind of known to the entire city council and the recorder that we are in a massive, massive running deficit from property taxes that are outstanding, going on almost 6 years now. And the only reason that I bring this up, it wouldn't be a big deal if it was 1 property or 3 properties or even 10 properties. But the way that Shaniko is, we have one corporate entity that owns almost 85% of the entire private property within the city of Shaniko, and predominantly the properties that produce the most income, such as the hotel, the RV park, the wool barn, etc. As it stands right now, they are behind hundreds of thousands of dollars in property tax, years and years and years behind. They go in and out of foreclosure. And I just want to make it known that I don't know what the percentile is of, what the property tax for the city gets out of that. But my suspicion is there is probably tens of thousands of dollars outstanding from that running deficit of property tax. And it's it's really a big deal because it's that one owner owns so much of the land that's really putting us in a tough spot because we've only got so many ways to make money. We collect property tax, we collect the cigarette tax and the street tax apportionment and that, and then we've got permitting, we've got utility billing. That's all we got. I mean, there's no other way to make money. So I don't know if there's any way we can kind of inquire about that, but we should definitely take that into consideration, I think.
Foreclose on the hotel.
Yeah, and I know the TLT tax has been significantly behind as well. Well,
Yeah,
never
so the
mind.
billionaire that owns this property he's talking about, Robert Pamplin. I don't know if you know the name. R2 ran. Anyway, they just play shell games with their taxes. So they let it go into foreclosure, and then they pay the minimum to bring it out, and then they start the 2-year process again.
There's a pattern of that.
They never pay. They never pay their property tax, basically. So
Yeah, and the corporate entity is now defunct for almost a year,
yeah,
which is an issue as well.
yeah, it's the corporate entity is defunct, and it's in Robert Pamplin's name of his personal asset.
Okay, let me dig into that.
Okay,
Let me dig into that and see.
that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Forrest.
And are you familiar? You're familiar with the Wasco tax assessor's website, where you can click and see all that stuff. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
That's how we can see. I mean, and it's not just this guy either. There's
Yeah,
3
it's widespread.
regular people in town that just don't pay.
Yeah.
You know.
There are properties in town that are currently in foreclosure for failure to pay property tax, and some of them go in and out of foreclosure frequently every year.
Okay.
It's a game. It's a tax game.
Okay.
It's a low income tax game.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, there should be a report that gets sent when they send the taxes. So, well,
I haven't been around long
We'll
enough
figure it
to have
out.
seen that.
We'll figure it out.
okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Andrew, do you have anything?
No, nope.
And
I
Sarah,
actually have one more thing before we move on. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Marquardt.
I just also wanted to add, and I know everyone's well aware of this, once again, there's only so many ways for the city to bring in money. And I would just like to throw out there that water and trash and building permits are all sources of revenue. And so it's my personal opinion, and frankly, I think it should be the opinion and the policy of the town that we invite new people to come in and build more housing and build businesses and build any kind of infrastructure, any kind of anything, and get them hooked up to water, get them on the trash cycle. And all of that is essentially free money. I mean, we've got the water supply. It doesn't cost us, any more per month if we had another 20 houses that we're supplying with water, but we would be making all of that extra money each month. And also the building permit and land use and all of that, we should have the permitting and application fees, a resolution for that. And we should welcome people into town. That's really going to be our only way to get out of this hole. I mean, if we don't start growing, the city ain't going to be around much longer.
I agree with that statement.
Thank you, Mr. Marquardt.
Sarah, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions at this time. I think it would be good to talk more with you, Krista. And I know that I owe you some times when I'm available. So I'll get that over to you. I will note that I have to drop at the top of the hour. So if there is anything else on the agenda that's particularly relevant to me, that would be great to cover in the next 6 minutes, please.
Are we
Let's talk next steps with the committee
Budget
planning.
law.
Yeah.
okay?
Just because we've got limited time, let's go straight to what we need to do.
Okay.
Good.
So we need, is it 3 readings of the budget hearing, and we need to get Buddy? Can we talk about the process?
So there was a little confusion because you being a ghost town, it says that you're not required to follow budget law, but you have been following budget law. So I think in good practice, we follow budget law, which is you'll need to schedule another meeting where you adopt your calendar. I will give you the proposed budget. And we should advertise for budget buddies, whether you get them or
Okay.
not. Give a little bit of time for people to do that. Typically, you are supposed to put it out in the paper, or you make copies, hand deliver them to the folks in town. Either way is fine. And then allow for public comment at least at one of the hearings.
Okay.
So I would do that towards the end,
Right.
making sure everybody's on board with everything.
Okay.
Then that's the one that like I said, public comment at the end.
Okay.
You're just required to have one public comment.
That sounds good. From me, council, what you can expect is I'll coordinate with you to schedule what this first budget committee meeting will be, along with this budget buddy idea of recruiting people from the community residents to participate. And then we'll also coordinate the posting around town to make sure that people are aware. And we'll take a look at that first one. I don't know if it's too aggressive to schedule once a week since we're behind, or if there needs to be a little bit more time in between.
Let me dig in a little bit more
Okay.
and make sure I can find the things that I'm looking for. I mean, you just have to have it done by the end of June.
And we
by
can
June
we can
30th.
set up
Okay.
all three too. Just what you're saying is
Yeah, yeah.
we'll
I'd like
set
to
up
do
the
all three,
schedule.
yeah.
We'll set up all three, and then we'll say, okay, we approve this, and then we'll post it, and it'll be one posting that is all three of them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, you could do that.
Great.
And just making sure that you have your minutes that are very clear about that there's opening hearing and public comment, and that people have a copy of the budget, be able
Right.
to pick up a copy somewhere, so that if it's out in the hall or something like that.
Okay.
I think those are the major things, but let me dig in a little bit more before we get the schedule. So
Yeah, I got you.
okay.
Yeah, I've also got to drop out at noon. I'll just add this real quick here. I'd like to spearhead the fire department budget and also the street repairs budget. Those are two things I feel really confident in, and that's all I've got. Unfortunately, I've got to go. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilmember
Thank
Mark.
you.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Are you dropping out too?
Let's close it up.
All right, I'm going to close this meeting of the Shaniko City Council workshop, April 28th, 2026. It is 12 noon, and I'll bring this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank you.